Hello and welcome to History is the Beans, and today we're going to look at the English Civil War, not to be confused with the Anarchy where King Stephen and Empress Matilda fought for the succession of the English throne, or the Barons' War which ended in King John signing the Magna Carta, or the War of the Roses which saw the rise of the Tudors, or the Jacobite uprisings, which in a strange way is sort of a continuance of the English Civil War. Another strange thing about the English Civil War was that it was also fought in Scotland and Ireland and Wales, which has led many now to call it the War of Three Kingdoms. The opposing sides were the Parliamentarians or Roundheads, represented here on screen by the rugged-looking Oliver Cromwell, and the Royalists, represented on screen by the very dashing Prince Rupert. Let's go look at the causes. King Charles kept on cheating off Parliament. He did so twice, the latter of which lasted for 11 years, and he only recalled it because he needed money for pissing off the Scots by forcing them to use a new prayer book, which caused the Bishops' War. By 1642, Parliament had enough of him, so when he tried to arrest 5 members in the House of Commons simply for criticising him, they were pre-warned and they fled, this being one of the last steps before civil war broke out. The problem was King Charles hated Parliament because he believed in the divine right of kings. This was the notion that God had made someone king, and as God could not be wrong, neither could the person he had appointed to rule a nation. The problem with this belief is that it didn't really include Parliament, and Parliament had all the money he needed to run the country. The king started raising his army in Nottingham in 1642. He managed to gather around the same number of soldiers as the Parliamentarians, but they were poorly equipped by comparison. However, Newcastle was in the process of gaining supplies for the king, and the Queen was in Holland acquiring military materials as well. By October 1642, both sides were relatively even, and the first big battle in the conflict would commence, the Battle of Edgehill, which pitched the king and Prince Rupert against the Earl of Essex, which ended in a draw. Neither side was able to land a big blow, and the war continued in that fashion, but with more pitched battles going to Parliament's favour, but with the king still having support. In 1644, Parliament was dissatisfied by the fact that by this point they had superior manpower and resources, but could only raise soldiers locally, and they could rarely be used far from their homes, so it came up with the New Model Army, appointing Sir Thomas Fairfax as its leader. This new army was trained in many regards was England's first professional army. All regiments of foot were given redcoats because it was the cheapest dye, and its first major conflict was the Battle of Naseby, where Oliver Cromwell's Ironsides on the wing, it decisively smashed the Royalists and any chance of the Royalists winning the Civil War. By 1646, King Charles was a glorified prisoner, and the New Model Army was now the most powerful political entity in the realm. From 1646 till 1648, the breach between Parliament and the New Model Army widened day by day until the Scots and remaining Royalists and the Presbyterian party felt it necessary to go to war again. The new conflict was over in a year, and the new victors weren't taking any chances, and this time they executed Charles I, something the Scottish Parliament wasn't too pleased about, since he was also their king and they didn't really have a say in the matter. This led to them appointing Charles II as the head of their armies, and the Third Civil War ensued, but the Royalists were crushed and the rule of the Commonwealth was established permanently. This is only a quick brush over of the events, and I've probably missed out some important parts, but to my knowledge I've gotten all the key points in, but if I haven't, let me know in the comments. Cheers.